The young technician stared at his screen and rubbed his eyes. He had worked at the Edge monitoring station for 3 years, and nothing ever happened here. Two he half. The station floated at the border of known space, watching the void expanse, a dark region where no ship had traveled for longer than anyone could remember. His job was simple: watch for anything unusual and report it. In 3 years, he had reported nothing, but tonight, his screen showed something impossible. A fleet was emerging from the void. Not a small fleet. Not a patrol or a lost merchant convoy. This was massive, thousands of ships appearing one after another, like stars being born in the darkness. The technician checked his equipment. He ran 3 different scans. The readings remained the same. He called his supervisor. The older woman arrived within minutes. She looked at the screen, and her face turned pale. She said nothing for a long moment. Then, she opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council's capital world. On Anthera, the center of galactic civilization, High Arbiter Velos received the message during his evening meal. He was an old creature. His blue skin wrinkled with age, his 4 eyes tired from centuries of leadership. The Council governed 3,000 star systems, and peace had lasted for longer than most species could count. Velos had grown comfortable. Problems were small. Disputes were settled with words. But when he read the report, his hands began to shake. He walked to his private archive, a room that only he could enter. Inside were files, sealed for hundreds of thousands of years. Files marked with warnings. Files that spoke of things the galaxy had chosen to forget. He found the one he was looking for. The label was simple: Extinct. Class Omega Threat. Velos opened it. The file contained records of a species called humans. They had come from a small blue planet named Earth. They had been young when they first reached the stars, curious, creative, and dangerously adaptable. In just a few centuries, they had spread across dozens of systems. They learned faster than any species the Council had seen. They fought harder. They loved deeper. They refused to accept limits. The Council of that ancient time had grown afraid. 12 species had united. They called it a defensive action. They called it necessary. They destroyed Earth. They hunted human colonies. They pushed the survivors to the edge of the galaxy, and then beyond, into the void expanse where no life could exist. The Council declared humanity extinct and sealed all records. Over time, the truth became legend. Legend became myth. But the file was clear. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had been exiled. And now, 800,000 years later, they had returned. Velos called an emergency meeting of the Council. The great chamber filled within hours. Representatives from hundreds of species took their seats, confused and irritated at being summoned so suddenly. Counselor Thren, the military advisor, sat near the front. He was a creature of sharp angles and cold logic. Bred for war, but forced to live in peace. Ambassador Oris sat near the back, young, idealistic, barely a century old. She had never seen a real crisis. Velos stood before them and told them the truth. The chamber erupted. Some species had old stories about humans, monsters from the dark, demons who ate worlds. Others had never heard the name. But all of them understood fear, and fear spread through the room like fire. Then the transmission arrived. Every screen in the chamber lit up. Every speaker crackled with a voice. The message played in every known language, one after another. And then it played in a language that had been dead for 800,000 years, the language of Earth. We are the children of Earth. We have returned home. Silence followed. Counselor Thren was the first to speak. His voice was hard and sharp. We must mobilize immediately. Every fleet. Every weapon. We strike before they can attack. Ambassador Oris raised her hand. We do not know their intentions. Perhaps they come in peace. Perhaps peace? Thren laughed bitterly. We destroyed their world. We killed their ancestors. We erased their existence from history. Would you come in peace? We could not live. We could not with their ancestors. Velos raised his hand, and the chamber fell silent. Before we decide anything, we must understand what we face. Show me the fleet analysis. The screen changed to show the human fleet. Ships of designs never seen before filled the display. They were beautiful and terrifying. Built with technology the Council could not understand. The analysis showed numbers, ship count, estimated firepower, energy signatures. A young analyst read the report aloud. His voice trembled. The human fleet contains approximately 12,000 vessels. Based on energy readings, their smallest ships match our largest battlecruisers in power. Their largest ships. He paused. We have no comparison. They exceed anything in our records. Thren leaned forward. What about our combined fleet strength? All Council species together? The analyst looked at the floor. Approximately 8,000 vessels, sir. And our technology appears to be significantly inferior. The chamber fell into chaos. Species shouted at each other. Old alliances broke. Old enemies united. Fear made them stupid and desperate. Velos watched it all with heavy hearts. He had inherited a galaxy built on a lie. His ancestors had created this problem. And now their children would pay for it. In his private thoughts, he wondered, what had humanity become in 800,000 years of exile? What had the darkness taught them? Were they still the same creatures his ancestors had feared, or had they become something far worse? Or perhaps, he thought, something far better. He did not know. But he would find out soon. At the edge of the galaxy, the human fleet moved forward. Slowly, patiently. They had waited 800,000 years. They could wait a little longer. On the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, Admiral Tejo watched the stars ahead. Somewhere beyond them lay the ashes of Earth. Somewhere beyond them lay the species that had murdered his ancestors. His face showed nothing. His heart held everything. Begin approach, he said quietly. Let them see us coming. Let them remember what they did. The fleet moved forward, and the galaxy held its breath. Admiral Tejo stood alone on the observation deck of the Eternal Dawn. Behind him, the ship hummed with quiet power. Before him, the galaxy stretched out like a sea of light, beautiful, vast, and full of the creatures who had tried to destroy his people. He was not young. No human was truly young anymore. Tejo had lived for 6,000 years, and he remembered when his grandparents told him stories of the Exodus. Now those stories lived only in him and others like him, keepers of a memory that refused to die. The door opened behind him. Dr. Yuna entered, carrying a small crystal in her palm. She was the fleet's chief historian, guardian of everything humanity had ever been. The crystal in her hand contained 800,000 years of human history, every birth, every death, every war, every poem, every song sung in the darkness between galaxies. The Council has received our message, she said. Their fleet is mobilizing. Tejo nodded slowly. Let them. Yuna moved to stand beside him. What will you do, Admiral, when we face them? I have not decided. The young ones want war. Captain Siok speaks of nothing else. He says we should burn their worlds as they burned ours. Tejo turned to look at her. His eyes were old, not in appearance, but in weight. They carried too many years of sorrow. And what do you want? Yuna? She was quiet for a moment. I want them to understand. I want them to know what they did to us. Not just the killing anyone can kill. I want them to know the loneliness. The generations born in ships that never stopped running. The children who grew up asking why the stars hated them. She held up the crystal. I want them to see this. All of it. That might hurt them more than any weapon. Yes, she said. It might. They stood in silence, watching the stars. In another part of the ship, Elder Hannah sat in her garden. She was the oldest living human, over 12,000 years old. Her body maintained by technology that would seem like magic to the council species. She had been a child during the last days of the Exodus, when humanity finally stopped running and began to build in the void. A young officer named Sok came to see her. He was barely 400 years old, full of fire and anger. He knelt beside her chair with respect, but his eyes burned with questions. "Elder," he said, "I need to understand. Why do we not simply destroy them? We have the power. They cannot stop us." Hana smiled gently. Her face was lined with age, but her mind was sharp as ever. "Sit with me, young one. Let me tell you a story." Siok sat. "When I was a girl," Hana began, "we lived on a ship called the Last Morning. It was old and broken, and held together with hope. We had fled so far that we could no longer see the galaxy. There was only darkness around us, the void, we called it. Nothing lived there. Nothing could live there. But we did, because we had no choice." She paused, remembering. "My mother told me about Earth. She had never seen it, neither had her mother, or her mother before her. But the stories passed down. Blue oceans, green forests, a yellow sun that warmed your skin, animals and birds and fish. Rain falling from the sky." Hana's voice grew soft. "I used to dream about rain. I had never seen it, but I dreamed about it every night." Siok listened, his anger slowly fading. "We lived like that for thousands of years, running, hiding, starving, watching our children die because we did not have enough medicine or food. And do you know what kept us alive? Not weapons, not technology, not anger." She touched her chest. "This. Our hearts. Our stubborn, foolish, beautiful hearts that refused to stop loving even when the universe wanted us dead." She looked at Siok with eyes that had seen more than he could imagine. "If we destroy them, we become what they feared. We prove that they were right to exile us. But if we show them mercy, if we prove that 800,000 years of suffering made us better instead of worse, then we win something no weapon can give us. We win our humanity back." Siok was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "But they killed our world. They murdered billions. How can we forgive that?" Quote, Hana took his hand. "I did not say forgive. I said, show mercy. Those are different things. Forgiveness is for them. Mercy is for us. It proves that their cruelty did not destroy what makes us human." The young captain stood. His eyes were wet, though he tried to hide it. "I will think on your words, Elder. I will think. That is all I ask." He left, and Hana returned to her garden. She touched the flowers growing there, roses, engineered to bloom in artificial light. They were descended from seeds carried from Earth 800,000 years ago. Everything humanity had, they had carried with them. Everything they loved, they had kept alive. On the bridge, Admiral Tae-ho received a message. A single council scout ship was approaching, sending signals of peace. He considered destroying it. The thought lasted only a moment. "Allow them to approach," he ordered. "And prepare a meeting room. It seems the council wishes to talk." "Doctor," Yuna looked at him with hope in her eyes. "You will hear them out?" I will hear them. Whether I will listen depends on what they say." The scout ship drew closer. Inside sat Ambassador Oris, young and terrified, carrying the weight of her civilization's guilt. She did not know what she would find on the human vessel. She expected monsters. She would find something far more complicated. She would find people, and that would change everything. Ambassador Oris stepped onto the human ship with shaking legs. She had prepared herself for horror, dark corridors, savage warriors, the smell of death. Instead, she found light. Clean, warm light filled the halls of the eternal dawn. The air smelled of flowers. Somewhere in the distance, she heard music playing. A human woman met her at the entrance. Dr. Yuna smiled gently and bowed her head in greeting. "Welcome aboard, Ambassador. We have been waiting a long time to speak with your people." Oris could not find words. She simply followed. They walked through the ship, and everything Oris saw confused her. She passed a room where human children were learning, their laughter echoing in the halls. She passed a garden filled with plants she had never seen, bright flowers, tall trees, flowing water. She passed families sharing meals together, couples holding hands, old ones telling stories to young ones. These were not monsters. These were people. People who loved and laughed and lived. Finally, they reached a meeting room where Admiral Tejo waited. He stood when Oris entered and offered her a seat. His face showed no hatred, no hunger for revenge. It showed only patience, the deep, heavy patience of someone who had waited longer than she could understand. "You are young," Tejo said. "Younger than I expected." "I volunteered," Oris replied, her voice small. "No one else would come." Because they are afraid." "Yes," Tejo nodded slowly. "Good. They should be afraid. Fear is an honest emotion. It means they understand what they did." He leaned forward. "Do you understand, Ambassador? Do you know what your ancestors did to mine?" Oris swallowed hard. "I read the files. Before I came, the High Arbiter unsealed the records. I know about the Exile. I know about Earth. Then you know more than most of your people, but you do not know everything." Tejo looked at Yuna. "Show her." Yuna placed a device on the table. Light rose from it, forming images in the air, images of ancient times, of events 800,000 years past. "Your council teaches that humans were exiled because we were violent," Yuna said. "That we were dangerous and unpredictable. That is partly true. We were young and foolish, and sometimes cruel. But that is not why they truly exiled us." The images showed humans working with strange machines, their eyes glowing with knowledge. "We discovered something, a way to evolve beyond our bodies, a way to touch dimensions that other species could not see, a way to become more." Oris watched, fascinated and terrified. "The Council did not exile humanity because we were dangerous," Yuna continued. "They exiled us because we were growing. In a few more centuries, we would have surpassed them. Our science would have made theirs look like children's toys. Our understanding of the universe would have changed everything they believed." She paused, her voice becoming hard. "They were not protecting the galaxy from us. They were protecting their power, their control. They destroyed Earth and called it defense. They murdered billions and called it necessity. But it was only fear, the fear of being left behind." Oris felt sick. She had believed her ancestors were heroes. Now she saw they were murderers, not of monsters, but of children. Children who might have grown into something beautiful. "I did not know," she whispered. "We know," Tejo said. "The lie is not your fault. But what happens next is your choice." Oris looked up at him. "What do you want?" "Truly, we want the coordinates of Earth. We want to return to our home what is left of it, and build a memorial for those who died. We do not want war. We do not want revenge." He paused. "But we will not be denied. We will not run again." When Oris returned to Anthara, she reported everything to the council. She told them about the flowers, and the children, and the music. She told them about humanity's true history. She told them that these were not beasts coming to destroy them, but people coming home. Some listened. High Arbiter Veyos listened. But Counselor Thren did not. In his private chambers, Thren met with commanders from a dozen species. "The humans lie," he said. "They speak of peace to make us weak. But the moment we lower our guard, they will strike. We must attack first." The commanders agreed. Fear made them blind. That night, Thren ordered a secret strike. A small fleet of fast ships would attack the human fleet, testing their defenses. If successful, a larger force would follow, but the humans knew. They always knew. After 800,000 years, they had learned to watch, to wait, to see danger before it arrived. When the council ships appeared, they found the human fleet ready. But Admiral Tejo did not order weapons to fire. Instead, he ordered something else. He stopped time. On Anthera, in the council chamber, every living thing froze. Every breath stopped. Every heartbeat paused. For exactly 3 seconds, the universe itself seemed to obey Admiral Tejo's will. Then it resumed, and a message appeared on every screen in the chamber. We did not return to destroy you, but understand what we have become. We have mastered forces you cannot imagine. We have touched the edges of reality itself. If we wanted you dead, you would be dead. We want peace. Do not force us to want something else. The message ended. Counselor Thren, for the first time in his long life, felt true terror. Not because the humans could stop time, but because they could have killed everyone in the chamber and chose not to. That restraint frightened him more than any weapon. Velos watched the chamber fall into fearful silence. He understood now. The humans had evolved beyond war. They had become something that did not need to fight to win. But Thren would not accept defeat. Already, his mind was working, planning, scheming. Somewhere in the old archives, there was another file. A weapon built 800,000 years ago. A weapon never used because humanity was believed dead. It was time to use it now. News of humanity's return spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 3,000 star systems heard the same message, saw the same images, felt the same fear. On some worlds, people ran to temples and prayed to gods they had forgotten. On others, armies mobilized and ships prepared for war. On a few, people simply looked up at the stars and wondered what would happen next. The stories varied from world to world. Some spoke of humans as demons, creatures of darkness who ate the flesh of the living. Others spoke of them as ghosts returning from the dead. A few ancient religions had prophesied this moment, and their followers fell to their knees, believing the end times had come. But on Anthara, Counselor Thren had no time for prayer or prophecy. He gathered his allies and secret military commanders, weapon scientists, leaders who believed that peace was just another word for weakness. They met in an underground facility, far from the eyes of High Arbiter Velos. There is a weapon, Thren said, his voice cold and certain. Built 800,000 years ago, by our ancestors. They called it the Final Protocol. It was designed for one purpose: to destroy humanity completely. Our ancestors never used it because they believed the exile was enough. They were wrong. This time, we will not make the same mistake. The commanders looked at each other with doubt and hope mixed together. One of them, an old general named Voss, spoke up. If such a weapon exists, why have we never heard of it? Because it was sealed away, hidden, forgotten, on purpose. Thren activated a hologram showing a massive structure buried deep beneath an abandoned moon. But I found it. I have studied the ancient records. I know how to wake it. And if it fails? Another commander asked. Thren's eyes grew dark. It will not fail. It was built to destroy a young species with simple technology. The humans have grown stronger. Yes, but this weapon was designed to end them at the molecular level, to tear apart their very existence. No amount of evolution can survive that. End quote. End quote. The commanders voted. The decision was made. The final protocol would be activated. Far away, on the eternal dawn, Admiral Tejo felt something change. He could not explain it. Humanity had developed senses beyond what other species could understand. They could feel shifts in probability, disturbances in the fabric of space-time. And right now, something disturbed him deeply. He called Captain Soak to his quarters. I have a mission for you, Teho said. One that requires speed and courage. Something is wrong. I feel it in my bones. Somewhere in council space. They are preparing something terrible. I need you to find it. And stop it. Siok straightened with pride. I will not fail you, Admiral. I know you will not. Teho placed a hand on the young captain's shoulder. But remember what Elder Hana told you. We are not here for revenge. If you find this threat, disable it. Do not destroy innocent lives in the process. Prove that we are better than our enemies. Siok hesitated. Part of him still wanted war. Part of him still burned with anger at the species who had murdered his ancestors. But Hana's words echoed in his mind. Mercy is for us. It proves that their cruelty did not destroy what makes us human. I understand, he said. Siok departed with a small team of ships, racing through council space toward the abandoned moon where the final protocol waited. But Thren had planned well. Security forces blocked Siok's path. Battles erupted in the darkness between stars. Siok fought bravely, but for every ship he destroyed, 2 more appeared. He would not reach the weapon in time. On Anthera, something unexpected happened. Elder Hana requested to broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Admiral Teho granted her request without question. If anyone could change hearts, it was her. Hana sat before a camera, her ancient face filling screens on billions of worlds. She did not speak of power or threats or demands. She spoke of Earth. I never saw my homeworld, she began, her voice soft and sad. I was born on a ship running through the darkness. But my mother told me stories. Her mother told her stories, and so the memories passed down through generations like precious treasures. She described blue oceans that stretched beyond the horizon. Green forests where sunlight filtered through leaves. Mountains covered in white snow. Rivers that sang as they flowed over rocks. Animals and birds and fish life everywhere, in endless variety. We had music, she continued. We had art. We had poetry and dancing and laughter. We fell in love and raised children and buried our dead with tears and prayers. We were not perfect. We made mistakes. We fought among ourselves, but we also dreamed. We dreamed of reaching the stars, of meeting other minds, of learning the secrets of the universe. Her voice broke with emotion. Your ancestors looked at us and saw monsters. They destroyed our world and scattered us into the void. For 800,000 years, we wandered in darkness, carrying nothing but memories and hope. Many times, we nearly died. Many times, we wanted to give up, but we did not. Because we remembered Earth. We remembered who we were. Tears fell from her old eyes. We are not here for revenge. We are here because home matters. Memory matters. Love matters. We want only to mourn what we lost and build something new from the ashes. Is that so terrible? Is that worth killing us again? Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and wept. They had never thought of humans as people with homes and families and dreams. They had only thought of them as threats to be feared. But Counselor Thren did not weep. He watched the broadcast with cold eyes, then turned to his commanders. Fire the weapon. On the abandoned moon, the final protocol awoke. Ancient machines roared to life. Energy gathered in chambers that had been silent for millennia. A beam of pure destruction formed, aimed directly at the human fleet. Captain Siok saw the light from his ship. He screamed into his communicator, warning the fleet. But it was too late. The beam fired. The beam crossed the darkness of space like a river of white fire. It moved at speeds that defied understanding, carrying enough energy to crack planets in half. Every sensor in the galaxy tracked its path. Every eye watched. Every heart stopped. On Anthera, High Arbiter Velos stared at the screens with horror. He had not authorized this. He had not even known the weapon existed. But it was too late for regret. The final protocol had been fired, and in moments, humanity would be erased from existence, this time permanently. The beam struck the human fleet, and nothing happened. The white fire passed through the ships like light through glass. It touched nothing. It destroyed nothing. It simply continued into the empty space, beyond, and faded away. Counselor Thren watched his screens with disbelief. "That is impossible," he whispered. "The weapon was designed to destroy them at the molecular level. Nothing could survive it." But he was wrong. 800,000 years ago, the weapon would have worked. Humanity had been young then, bound to physical bodies, limited by the laws of matter and energy. But humanity had changed. They had evolved beyond what the ancient council could have imagined. On the eternal dawn, Admiral Teho watched the beam pass through his ship without feeling. Around him, his crew remained calm. Some smiled softly. They had known this would happen. They had known for a long time. Dr. Yuna spoke quietly. "We exist in dimensions they cannot touch. Their weapons belong to an old universe, one we left behind centuries ago." Teho nodded. "Send a message to the council. Show them what they tried to do. Show them that it failed. And then show them what we choose to do next." Across the galaxy, screens lit up with a new transmission. It showed the final protocol firing. It showed the beam passing through the human fleet. And then it showed Admiral Teho, standing on his bridge, his face calm and unreadable. "You tried to destroy us again," he said. 800,000 years ago, you burned our world and called it justice. Today, you fired a weapon built from fear and hatred. Both times, you failed. Not because we fought back, but because we grew beyond your ability to hurt us." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We could destroy you now. We have the power. We have the right. Every law of the universe would forgive us for taking revenge." His eyes softened. "But we choose differently. We choose to show you what humanity became in the darkness you created." The screen changed to show something unexpected. The remains of the final protocol, floating in space. Human ships surrounded it, but they were not attacking. They were carefully taking it apart, piece by piece. "We are returning your weapon," Teho continued. "Keep it. Put it in a museum. Let it remind your children of what fear makes people build, and what fear almost cost you." On Anthara, the council chamber erupted in chaos. Some species demanded war. Others begged for peace. Counselor Thren shouted that it was a trick, that the humans were manipulating them. But High Arbiter Velos raised his hand, and slowly, the chamber fell silent. "Enough," he said, his voice heavy with shame. "We have been wrong for 800,000 years. We have carried the guilt of our ancestors without knowing it. Now, we know. Now we must choose what happens next." He looked at the screen, where Admiral Teho waited. "The humans have shown us mercy we do not deserve. The least we can do is listen." In the days that followed, Dr. Yuna released humanity's knowledge to the galaxy. Not as a weapon, but as a gift. Sciences that would take other species millennia to develop were shared freely. Cures for diseases. Methods to grow food in barren places. Technologies that could bring peace and plenty to every world. "We did not learn these things to rule over you," Yuna explained to Ambassador Oris. "We learned them because we had nothing else. When you are alone in the darkness for 800,000 years, you either grow or you die. We chose to grow." Oris wept as she received the files. "Why would you give us this? After everything we did?" Yuna smiled gently. "Because teaching is not surrender. Kindness is not weakness. And the best revenge against those who tried to destroy you is to become better than they ever imagined." Counselor Thren was arrested and brought before the council for judgment. Many demanded his execution, but Elder Hana made a request. Let her speak with him. They met in a small room on Anthera. Thren, proud and defiant, refused to sit. Hana, old and small, sat in a chair and looked up at him with gentle eyes. "You expected monsters," she said. "I still see monsters," he spat. "Monsters pretending to be kind." Hana nodded slowly. "I understand. Fear is hard to release. It grows inside us like a poison, making us see enemies everywhere." She reached out and took his hand. He flinched but did not pull away. "Come with me. Let me show you something." She led him to a window overlooking a human ship docked at the station. Through the window, they could see human children playing, laughing, chasing each other, full of joy and innocence. "You feared monsters," Hana said, "but we were only ever human." Thren watched the children for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was broken. "I do not know how to stop being afraid." "That is the first honest thing you have said," Hannah replied. "Fear takes time to heal. Perhaps, in time, you will learn." Finally, the human fleet traveled to the coordinates of old Earth. The system was dead. The sun had been poisoned. The planets turned to ash. But the humans came anyway. Admiral Teho, Dr. Yuna, Elder Hana, and Captain Sok stood on a small ship floating where Earth had once been. Around them, 12,000 human vessels formed a ring of light. Teho held a small seed in his hand, genetically designed to grow in the void of space, to survive without sun or soil. "This is not an ending," he said. "This is a beginning." He released the seed. It floated into the darkness, carrying the hope of humanity within it. Someday, it would bloom. Someday, Earth would live again. The galaxy watched in silence, no longer afraid, but filled with something new: wonder.